Hello, good evening. This is Amos Tarfa. I'll be your instructor for the ACT course. I just wanted to go over my sort of resume briefly to give you an idea of how I've come to where I am today. Let me start informally before I throw in the PowerPoint. I have a PowerPoint presentation I'll be sharing with you briefly. I actually have taught the ACT in different capacities from about 2012. So about 8 years now, and more like almost 8.5 years. I've taught it in different capacities, formally in different classes in different schools, and I've also written plans that people can follow. And my hope is that as you go through the program, right, we've helped students gain a lot of points in different sections, raise their composite score. I hope that we can do that for you as well. It's a sort of a two-way street. We can give you certain tools, but I hope that you apply yourself and do the best that you can. And the key is no matter what score you end up with, right? And people take the exam multiple times. So it's not one and I'm never taking it again. Some people take it, they get a score that they're close to what they want, but not the score they want. So they take it again. And sometimes they get closer and closer, and sometimes they exceed what score they're looking for. I have worked in different capacities with standardized testing. I have friends who have scored perfect scores on standardized testing. And so I've gathered that experience and brought it into this course. So who is Amos Tarfa? Well, I grew up in Nigeria, and I'll go ahead and share my PowerPoint screen as well here. But I grew up in Nigeria, and let's switch this over. So yeah, grew up in Nigeria, and I was born in the northern part of the country. Sorry, let's move my screen here. I was born in the northern part of the country, and went to elementary school in Lagos, Nigeria, moved down to Lagos, Nigeria. And then I went to secondary school at a school called Federal Government College, Lagos. And the reason why that's important, again, is I was blessed with the opportunity to go to a very good school in the southern part of the country, in Lagos, Nigeria. And there are good schools all over, but I was blessed to go to the one in Lagos. And I came to the United States to get my bachelor's degree in 2007 in chemistry. The goal was to become a pediatrician and to inspire young people to excellence, and to, I'd read books about pediatricians that were interacting with young people outside of their sort of clinical hours. And so I wanted to inspire young people. So I came to the United States and I studied pre-med chemistry to become a pediatrician. That was the initial goal in 2007, January. Superior, Wisconsin. It was very cold. I got over the weather after a few years. Actually, I don't know if I've fully gotten over it. It's quite cold. And so I graduated in 2010. My degree was in pre-med chemistry. But at that point, I knew that that the sort of the medical field was not where I wanted to spend most of my time. Again, there's different people have different callings, and mine was to teaching. I wanted to teach. So I actually added a minor in philosophy for several reasons, partly because I was also into, and I do work in Christian apologetics. And so I wanted to learn more in that field, or just have discussions about philosophy of science. My study was in philosophy of science under my philosophy studies. But I also took classes in epistemology, knowledge, the theory of knowledge. What is knowledge? How do you know what you know? These kinds of questions. So anyways, I loved thinking about deep things. So graduated in 2010. As I said, my degree was in chemistry and I had a minor in philosophy. And then I actually taught, I worked in a chemistry lab. I worked in a research lab also in microbiology/biochemistry. Then I actually taught for 2 years in a local school in Duluth, Minnesota, local private school. And after doing that, it was during those years that I realized how much I wanted to write about math programs. Now, I have written a few books and published on a few topics. And so they're not all on ACT type stuff and math, but I've written more of some of my story in one of my books that I've published. But anyways, so in 2012, 2013, I did my second year of teaching, and I started writing math programs. And here's what I mean. I realized that the math programs in America, a lot of the sort of textbooks and the classes were repeating concepts from the past a lot. So for example, you learn about graphing in 8th grade in Algebra 1, you learn about graphing in geometry, you learn about graphing in Algebra 2, but somehow a lot of students were still not very good at graphing. So I thought, what if we focus on a mastery-based approach where when the student learns it in 8th grade, we zoom in on the concept and we hit the concept hard, so we make sure the student has mastered the concept. So I started writing programs like that, which led to a book that I wrote called Tools for Mastering Mathematics. As a part of this course, you get a copy of that book. It's a PDF. You can have it, you can read it, you can use it as a resource in your other math courses in school, and it will help you better understand the nature of mathematics and how to excel in mathematics, okay? Math is a beautiful subject, and we can help you become good at math, just as we're going to do with other subjects in the ACT. But for math especially, I've written a book called Tools for Mastering Mathematics, which you can have. I have some notes here also, just going over some of my bio. As I said, I went to school in Lagos, Nigeria. For my high school, I actually spent 3 years, we call it 3 years in junior secondary school and 3 years in senior secondary school. Nigeria follows more of a British type model for education. And during those years of the senior secondary school, they put us into tracks. And this is something I'm going to be discussing in some of my YouTube videos and even throughout this course, trying to get you to think about sort of what are the, what are some majors you should think about? What fits your toolkit? We're going to be talking about that kind of stuff. So please don't hesitate to email me if you have any questions about, I'm thinking about this major, I'm thinking about that. What do you know about this? Feel free to email me any questions about college success and so on. So because I was put in a track in senior secondary school, we had to choose a major. Like, what do you want to major in? So because of that, I was actually I chose the medicine track in high school. So I had to take 9 semesters or 9 years of chemistry. Well, I call it years because there was 3 different teachers that were teaching me chemistry in 10th grade, 3 of them in 11th and 3 of them in 12th. So basically I got 9 different doses of chemistry, about 6 to 7 doses of physics, about 10 doses of math. Now, how is that even possible? This is just from 10th to 12th grade, okay? We got our math class, but then we also got an advanced math class 1 and an advanced math class 2. So that's like 3 math classes. Multiply that by 3 and some of the extra lessons. We were taking a lot of math, a lot of science, because I was in the medicine track. Now, that right there is an ACT writing question that I can put together. What do you think about the track model? If somebody wants to become a doctor, should we remove all the literature, government? I did have to take English, but I didn't have to take like history. I didn't have to take government. My focus was in the science and math track for those 3 years. Very interesting discussion. I think we should have that in our webinar discussion. We should look into that question of what are your thoughts on the tracking model. So I graduated high school, came here, as I said, went to college, and then taught for 2 years. And I shared some of that about my high school experience because it shows some of my background in math and science and sort of just part of why I enjoy those fields a lot more, but I also enjoy English and history. Again, I've written books, and so therefore I enjoy writing and reading. So I think that, again, part of the goal here is to help you see the sort of the things that set me up to be, for me, to be where I am today. So that was my high school experience. What do you think about it? Do you think that was too intense with all the math and the science, or do you think, and now, by the way, we had 3 years of biology on top of all of that. So that was a lot of science and math. One of the things I did research in after graduating high school, I did a lot of work with bacteria and different things with bacteria, and I also did some studies in the blood clotting cascade. So those are some of my fields of research. So some work with bacteria with a microbial geneticist, some work with the blood clotting cascade in biochemistry, and then, as I said, the philosophy of science, a field which I study a lot, in my free time, because I enjoy the intersection of science and faith and philosophy. So now, that's one of the things you get to do in college. You take some classes and you can get into some good conversation about the nature of this and the nature of that and understanding where people are coming from. And it's good to have conversations with people, even if they're coming from a different point of view. So now let's look at a few more things here about my bio. I graduated in 2010, taught for 2 years. The summer of 2013, I officially started the Learning Institute for Excellence. I did go on to get a master's in medical physics and also a master's in medical health physics. And then I've written about 5 books. I say about 5 books because one of the books was taken and sort of broken down into other books because there was a lot in one book. So, but yeah, some of those books are out there, and if you are ever interested in learning about other fields, feel free to let me know. But some of these books are available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. the lessons from my journey. So here's some things I want you to keep in mind as you study for the ACT. I thought I would be a pediatrician, but things changed, and that's okay. And so I want you to know that no matter what happens, right, you might have a commitment or sort of a direction that you think, I want to go into the field of engineering, but things change and you end up being an architect. That's okay. The key is what is in your toolkit, and what are the opportunities you've been presented with, and what are you making of the opportunities that you've been presented with? So again, I love this topic. I have books that I recommend on this topic. One of them right away that comes to mind is Skills Finder. You could use that, or Strength Finder. You could use that as a tool to help you think about the question of what do I want to study, right? Because when you're studying for the ACT, you're going to college, and the question then becomes to do what, right? I understand that people go sometimes to get their generals done, and that's a one track. Okay, you get your generals, but then you have to choose a major at some point, and so you can start thinking about what your strengths are, right? Some people know right from 5th grade, right from 6th grade, that they want to be teachers, for example. Some people know right from 6th grade, they want to be doctors, right? So there's nothing wrong with sort of having an idea. You don't have to say that I want to be a heart surgeon, right? You don't have to be very specific, but just having an idea of a direction is not a bad thing. I have met many people who have graduated from college who actually still don't know what they want to do, right? So it tells us that waiting to college is not the only way up to get around this. You can also sort of start planning ahead and just reading books. And there's some books I'm going to recommend. And Malcolm Gladwell has written some very interesting books on different topics. And I think that one of the things that you can learn from his books is he tells stories of different people and their experiences. And if you look at where he's coming from, it will help you to better understand what your skills are and what you might be able to do for a career. Please don't hesitate to ask questions on that as well. I just want to wrap up with a few more things about sort of my hobbies and so on. So, as I said, in philosophy of science, we examine the demarcation problem, understanding what is science and what is not science. So those are kind of fields that I study and write in for fun. I work as a medical physicist. That's my actual full-time sort of job in different capacities. I'm a consultant diagnostic medical physicist. So I help hospitals, and I work with hospitals and do different things as far as machines that emit x-rays or even ultrasound machines or MRI machines. We're trained, medical physicists are trained to make sure that these equipment are working as they ought to work, and that patients are getting the best possible care with the use of those machines, that they're getting the appropriate amount of dose for the images that the radiologist needs to see. Radiologists read images, they do other things, but that's one of the main things they do. So the medical physicist works in conjunction with radiologists and radiological technologists. So you work with the people who are doing the x-rays, you work with the people who are reading the x-rays, and there's a lot of math involved. So if you're interested in medical physics, let me know. But that is a field that I do work in. So I've done, as I said, writing and research in the demarcation problem. This sort of field of philosophy of science has allowed me to meet people like Professor John Lennox out of Oxford University, a mathematics professor, and also has training in the philosophy of science. I was planning to get my PhD initially. So remember when I graduated in 2010, I was going to go to be a pediatrician, but then I switched to the education track. And I actually was going to do a PhD in biochemistry. That didn't work out. Or the philosophy of science. That didn't work out at the time because of the teaching job that I got. I took that opportunity, and that was part of the reason I didn't get a PhD right away. The reason for a PhD, of course, will help, you get to dive deeper into the concepts and so on. But I taught 2 years of high school biology, math, ACT prep, Bible, history, and so on. And so those are some of the courses I taught, but the ACT prep was a course that I actually created while I was teaching. It wasn't a course they used to offer, but I helped create that course. So I did that for 2 years. I started the tutoring center, still do a little bit of tutoring and writing. I've written some, I've done sort of like video classes for algebra, geometry, and people can watch videos on different topics. We have those courses available if people need to use that as a boost, or if they need to take a full algebra course. I have resources for that. Algebra 1, Algebra 2, pre-calc, geometry, and pre-algebra. I've explained what I do now. Some of my books include Achieving Excellence as a Young Person. I have one called Tools for Mastering Mathematics. There's Pursuing Excellence in Academics and Pursuing Excellence in Character. And then The Pursuit of Excellence, Christianity 201, The Pursuit of Excellence was the one that I wrote in 2009, 2010, which has been broken into several books. I'm married, and my wife and I have 6 kids. And so yeah, that's a little bit of who Amos Tarfa is. I do podcasting and so a little bit of podcasting and putting it up on YouTube as well. So in general, so I work in medical physics. I've made courses in math and ACT prep, which is part of what this is that you're going through. And I love podcasting and making videos once in a while on YouTube, addressing topics about how do I live a life that makes sense, and how can I succeed in all that I do. These are topics that I address, and I talk about education and how to go to college without debt. Those are some issues I address also on YouTube. Please, at any time, if you have questions, if you have any comments, anything we can do to make the course better, please don't hesitate to reach out. I hope that this has given you some context into who I am. My wife is from Minnesota. We met right when I got done with college. She moved over to our city, and that was where we met. And then we got married a year later, and again, the rest is history. But I still do some work in education overseas in Nigeria, and hoping to provide more, support for schools and starting schools as well overseas. So that's a summary of Amos Tarfa. But if you have any other questions about the instructor, don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you for watching this, and have a wonderful day.